That's the bottom line for me. I mean, in Oakland County, we've got a very fiscally conservative bunch. We're one of only, I think at this point, 13 counties in America that have a AAA bond rating by all the rating agencies with a positive outlook. We're the only county in America that pre-funded health care and retirement and then got out of the business. We're all defined contributions. We don't have pensions and legacy costs anymore that are waiting as a ticking time bomb. The state of Michigan right now is facing $65 billion of unfunded health care and retirement liabilities. That goes well beyond the $2 billion annual shortfall they face in the budget. This is a much bigger situation. The state of Michigan's bankrupt and just hasn't gone to the bankruptcy 12-step group yet. I'm from Michigan and I'm bankrupt. Well, hello, Michigan. That's where Michigan currently sits. But they haven't admitted it. And so they duct tape over every hole with stimulus money. And the stimulus money is nothing other than an IOU on our grandkids. And this is a house of cards that will fall, and it will fall on our future kids and our grandkids. And that's why this is so important. That we elect men and women to think country first, Constitution first, and the next generation first. This is the first generation in the history of this country where the children will have a lower standard of living than their parents. Is that the legacy we want to leave for our grandkids? And I know you're on the same page, you're here. But we have to get people fired up, not just for election day, but then the other thing we have to do is hold people accountable. Because a lot of people talk, and then when they get there, they change. If you're a Republican and you vote for stimulus and TARP and bailouts and the bridge to nowhere was a Republican amendment. Your grandkids don't know the difference. So after we elect people, we have to hold them accountable. And that's what this is all about. This battle is that important in my mind. And so whether we are as candidates, many candidates here, I'm not a candidate, but there's a lot of candidates here, or as individuals, we all have to engage people and get them out, get them excited, get them voting on those kinds of principles. Because this isn't just a football game where, you know, we win this cycle and next cycle the Democrats win and who's up and who's down. This is real stuff. The reason we're in this game and in this fight is to make sure policies that protect the future of this country are enacted, not just who happens to hold the majority. Jim DeMint said this, and I agree 100%. It's not just about electing the majority, it's about electing people that believe the majority should focus on the Constitution and limited government. So if you can't get it with a person that has an R behind their name, then don't put all your effort into that person. You know, all the mainstream folks were complaining in different races around the country, well, you know, that person can't win. Well, if that person wins that doesn't stand for that, it doesn't help us anyway. I'd rather build the coalition that is Reagan-esque and take 2 or 3 cycles and have it have foundation that believes in something, not just wants to sit there. And so as we go forward, we can do this. I'm absolutely confident we can make these changes. I'm excited, especially by a lot of the people I saw, the hands that went up first time. You're here. When I've spoken to many of the Tea Parties, 95% of the people there have never done anything political. People are getting up off their couch and out of their busy lives and getting involved because they're worried about the future for their kids and their grandkids. That's a good thing. These are motivated, concerned individuals that are making the signs in their garage and in their basement, not having it paid for by a special interest group. There's a huge difference. Somebody shows up with a hand-painted sign outside of my office, I know they did it from the heart. If they show up and it's pre-printed and they all have the same sign, somebody put it in their hands as they got off the bus. And that happens more times than not on the Democrat side. I challenge you to look at the signs of any demonstration. Not just the numbers, but the signs, because a lot of the Democrat organizations have a built-in demonstration clause. A lot of the unions have been given special personal days, and they have the ability to put people on a bus and send them places, hundreds at a time, and they get off and they get handed a sign. But those signs I love are the ones that they painted at home, or their kid painted it at home, and they still have the paint on their fingertips. And they did it because they care and they believe. I'll take one of those to 1,000 of the others climbing off the bus, because they're there because they got a day off and they got a ride. People in the Tea Party and people in this room are here because they care. And that's how this country got started. People cared about freedom. They cared about the rights to exercise those rights. It wasn't freedom from religion, it was freedom of religion. We banned religion from the public sector, and yet the things that we require and allow in the public sector aren't articulated in the Constitution at all. So this is an important time. Now, I can tell you lots of stuff about the county, happy to chat about that. Challenging times, yes, budgets are a mess. We had to lay off some more people October 1st. But we've done it in a fiscally prudent fashion. I'm down 132 positions, but only 5 we laid off because we stopped hiring 3 years ago. We do a 3-year budget. So unlike the rest of the state and across the country, we're planning 3 years from now. The budget we just adopted puts us in balance 3 years from now. The state just put patch marks and quilts and duct tape on this year's budget. And it's a house of cards. It's already in deficit. So fiscally, we're doing what we have to do. With the county commissioners, with Brooks, with the county-wides, we're making the tough choices. It wasn't easy for me to cut $13 million out of my budget. But you have less in your pocket, so I have to spend less. Simple equation. You know, I cut some things that were not easy to cut, but you have to set priorities just like you do at home. If you don't have the same amount of money coming in, you don't go on the internet and look where you're going to spend it on vacation. And governments are still doing things the way they have always done it, assuming things will come back and change. And that's not the case for at least a number of years. We don't expect property values. And I know you're going to think I'm Debbie Downer here, but we're out ahead of this. That's the good news. But we don't expect actual property values that were in place in 2007 to be back in place here in Oakland County until 2021. So that's the mindset we're operating with in terms of our fiscal prudence. So until we get the state and other communities and the federal government to understand that, we're spending money we don't have. And that's why it's important to get people that are willing to make the tough decisions. Like I said, some of the cuts I've made, they weren't easy to make. There weren't any good choices, but you have to make tough choices. If you are at home and your spouse loses their job, there's no easy cuts to make in the household budget, but you do, because you have to match what comes in with what goes out, and government forgets that fact. And at the state level, they lie about the fact. We have a constitutional amendment requiring a balanced budget. You close the books on the last day of September and a new fiscal year starts October 1st. And when I was in the Senate, we always had a surplus that carried over. What they do now is revenue that comes in for the next fiscal year starting October 1st, they bring forward, balance the books, say it's in balance, close the books, and then move the money back out into the next fiscal year to spend it, so they left a deficit if somebody reopened the books. It's a shell game. So they've been violating the Constitution for a number of years. And that number grows. So those are the things we got to face. But we can face it, we can fix it if we're willing to hit these things head on and act in a fiscally prudent fashion and act in accordance with the Constitution.